matcha latte.
I will have this autofill.
Thumbs up or a thumbs down.
I'm Sam, the founder of Tawar. We are a small startup. The workflow is within recruiting. We were using Airtable to help us to sort of map, sort of like a lightweight like ATS system. So helpful for all of our different recruiting channels, regardless of where these candidates were coming in from, LinkedIn, Wellfound, or wherever else. And then sort of inputting everything into one spot, one huge database to then sift through and categorize. I don't know if you want to call it internal CRM or whatever to track, stages, different candidates, notes that we've taken, evaluations, and things like that to help us keep folks moving along in the interview process.
So what am I doing? I'm helping Sam. All right, so I'm going to help Sam improve his recruiting workflow. Real quick, let's go through the phases of how I do a spreadsheet makeover. So first, breakdown. How is Sam currently doing it? What works? What doesn't work? What needs to be improved? Then we're going to go into planning, how we're going to build it in Grist. And part of that planning is what is the right structure? What are the related tables? Do we need any formulas, any business logic? What are the workflows? Any reporting that needs to happen? And lastly, are there any access rules? I'm going too quick, aren't I? So let's go look at their Airtable. This is all dummy data. They gave me a blank version. I put in a bunch of sample data. If you're familiar with Excel, Excel has sheets. On a sheet, the data is unstructured. In Airtable, your data is structured. Every table looks like a database, but it has data types and it is structured. So we have a table of candidates, people who are applying, their name, a particular job, what is the stage, recommendations moving forward. Then there's the evaluations. Who on the team has been evaluating them? For what role? Do you recommend them? What's the skills fit? As on a scale of 1 to 10. What's great about this candidate? What gives you pause or is a red flag? And then references. Once a candidate gets to the reference stage, who are the references you spoke to? What was their relationship to that candidate? And then they ask some questions. One of the things that Sam said that they do in their workflow is here the grid view of candidates is pretty straightforward. When it comes to evaluations, they have this form that they like to use, which they can share with members on their team to come in here and fill in, okay, I am Jack and I am evaluating Sophia. You see how it has the full list of all candidates and the roles they're applying for. So I'm going to evaluate Sophia, and then they start filling in the skills fit, start fit, and all of those questions. One of the issues that Sam is running into has to do with user permission. You may not want everyone on the team to see all the potential candidates and all of their scores and all of their evaluations. Why is this a problem? So let's say I am on the team that is recruiting for account executive. I want to see the account executives, but I might be hiring multiple people for this role. I might be account executive who's been working here for a year. Should I see my historical one? Should I see how I was rated in the past or how many recommendations I got? That's already a bit of a problem right there. The other problem is maybe there's some roles here that I shouldn't know we're hiring for. Maybe there's some secrets here. Maybe there's a new head of sales and I shouldn't know about that. Maybe I shouldn't know there's going to be a turnover in head of sales. We're not hiding that here. The main thing here is they are using forms to get around user permission limitations. It's not possible to say, hey, if I'm on the team that is hiring for a data analyst, I should only see the data analyst candidate to no one else. So instead, they're doing things through a form, leaking a lot of information, and whenever they shouldn't be leaking information, they have to duplicate this base. And what Sam told me is for the most part, they just don't really share this that much. That is the breakdown. Done. Planning table. What do we need? A table of candidates. This is pretty straightforward. A table of evaluations, a table of references. So basically the same tables they have over here makes sense. I think also they would benefit from having 2 more tables. One would be role and the other one is evaluator. And it should be filtered by role, like for whoever is evaluating, whoever's on the hiring team for this role. Table of roles, table of evaluators. So that's the structure. They did have at the table of candidates, they wanted averages for the skills assessment, those numerical values from 1 to 10. They have this roll up at the candidate level on whether or not how many people have given it a thumbs up to move forward, but like out of what? I think I want to do a little bit better there. I don't see how many thumbs down I got. Let's do emoji thumbs up and thumbs down. I think it'll be cute. Yes. Okay, that'll be way better. Created at and created by. And then at evaluators, this is where we need to have access rules for hiring teams, managers, see all. Dashboard for selecting roles and candidates, dashboard for evaluations. We're just going to eliminate the need for a form and a dashboard for references. All right, planning is done. Let's do structure. I'm going to download these tables if I can learn how. Do all 3 tables. They're all going to be new tables. So far, so good. We have gotten relational. We have done the business logic. Workflows, time to do some dashboard building. Workflows are done. We don't need any more reporting, but access rules is the main thing. How do I want to set up these access rules? When an evaluator logs in, I want to look up their email and then figure out what roles they should have access to, unless they're a manager. Then they can do everything. So I don't want to set permissions based on like a department. Like everyone in the sales department can see all of it because maybe some of the hires are sensitive. Maybe you're making a big change, or you don't want to show people historical stuff. Maybe you don't want to see all the historical account executives that could include me and my past evaluations. So you want to explicitly add someone to a particular role. So what I want to do here is I want to explicitly set a hiring team for every role. I'm going to add a column here that is going to be a reference list. So I'm going to be referencing, this is my hiring team for a particular role. And what I want to do is I want to reference evaluators, and I can have a whole team. So Diego and Maylin are doing, and Jack are doing account executive. Diego, Maylin, and Jack. So we have a hiring team here. Is this going to be easier than I thought? Famous last words, famous last words. Don't say them. Don't say the famous last words. So I'm going to add a user attributes table. So we're going to look up by email in the evaluators table on the email column. I'm going to do some default rules. If user access in manager is an owner, or user.team.manager equals true, you can do everything. User.team ID is in the record called hiring team, which is why I made all the names the same. You can allow it, otherwise deny. This should work for most tables except for the evaluators table. So candidates, evaluation, references, roles. So the only table that this shouldn't be working for is the evaluators table. See, because it doesn't have a hiring team, but this is easy because I actually think it's fine for everybody to see this, but not edit it. And in the roles table, we also want them to not edit it so that they can't add themselves to other roles, right? Is this the fastest access rules has ever happened? No, famous last words. I need to stop with the hubris. Okay. Let's find out. Diego is in only account executive. He is not on any other team. That should be what I'm seeing here. Diego, account executive, what up? That's the candidates card. Let's come over to an evaluation. Click here to add a new evaluation if you want to. You can see past evaluations. And evaluators, he should not be able to make himself a manager. It checked. It took a little second, but it did not let him make himself a manager. And in roles, he can't add a buddy. He can't add Lucia. Okay, I'm gonna come back here and I won't allow people to delete candidates or evaluations or references, just because that could be messy. We don't want people deleting things. So he should be able to edit the name if like someone got the spelling wrong, but he shouldn't be able to delete this. And Sam, as the manager, should still be able to see everything. Cool. And delete things. Cool. Basically an owner. Awesome. I did the access rules. Let me do a little bit. I did some testing as well, but let me do just a little bit more, I think. Formatting is done. Okay, remove. Simple, what an easy one. So the biggest thing that we improved on this workflow, it's proper user permissions, right? We come in here, depending on who's on a hiring team or what role somebody is assigned to, they should only be able to see roles that they're on the hiring team for. One of the limits on the Airtable one, it's people couldn't see what their team had said about a particular candidate. You also couldn't see the thumbs down or who the thumbs down was. None of that information was there. So we're already getting a lot more information. Notice how it says, please do not share externally, because Even this form, which generates an external link that anyone can access, if anyone finds that link, they can then see all of those candidates. And you're already revealing a lot of information here. You have to be careful about who is on my candidate list before even sharing this internally. And you still need to duplicate this database over and over, or be very careful about who you share it with. Though the form is nice in terms of just an easy flow, so we can just have a card like we have here. And I'm ready to share this with Sam. Here's sort of the owner view. So somebody who is, it's you, like this is you, coming in who should have full permission, nothing is hidden from them. You can see the roles we're currently hiring for. And then when you click on a role, you see what are the candidates for that role. This is sort of just the high level of every candidate. The evaluation is where we're starting to really get into what we were talking about making it more collaborative. So let's say we're looking at data analyst. You can see the candidates here and then the evaluation so far. So then if I click on Kenji, he's had 2 from Lucia and from yourself. I added you as one of the managers. And then so you can see like who was this thumbs down. And you can also see their evaluation. This is Lucia's and this is Sam's. References, same idea. So if these people haven't had references yet, but Carlos does, and it still is like filling in a form. And it is filling in the evaluator and the candidate automatically, because the real important thing here is this concept of for every role, you have a hiring team. So when I come in here as Diego, he only sees his one. And he can see the candidates for this role. He can see the evaluations for this role. He can see all of that information, but he can't see the roles he shouldn't have access to.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, this addresses a couple of the main pain points from using Airtable, which is, again, there's like a link that's floating and, hopefully it stays internal, but, you never really know. Yeah.
The scores that we have here on the evaluation cards by the different evaluators, that is still getting rolled up here to the average. So
yeah.
telling you still an average like that. All of that's still coming through.
The logic's there, which is great.
Yep. But if I was to come in here to add a new one for Ava and you just start putting in a certain number, it'll just fill in your name, the created at, things like that just make things a little bit easier.
Yeah, definitely. On Airtable, for example, I have to put that in myself each time. I have to select who's the evaluator, and we don't have that like by evaluator permission systems, which is nice. It's almost more like Notion-like in that sense, right? Where you have different like little like embedded little frames within each one, so you can filter off of that information and let one view influence the other 2 views, right? The roles influence the candidates in the evaluation, which is really cool. Instead of having to like go into the filters and update. So that part I think is really nice.
Yeah.
One thing we didn't talk about, which could be interesting, some views have edit access versus viewing access. So for example, if I'm a super admin, maybe I've had a conversation with you, Anais, and you're an evaluator, and based on our conversation, you had marked this person's like personality fit as a 7, but like maybe you didn't fully understand what we were looking for when we were trying to evaluate that and what a 7 means. Maybe I can like overwrite that and mark that as what you have updated your answer to, like 4 or whatever.
So that's definitely very possible. Can I do a quick access rule? Let me see. So I think what I want to say is if your user team ID is not evaluator, is that what I'm saying? Am I doing this right? Yeah. So that's it. I just had to figure out which way is the negative. So Diego shouldn't be able to change this, but you should be able to as the manager, because I have you marked as a manager. So you can.
Look at that.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Don't leave. I'm going to end the recording. But I will ultimately get what I want, even if there's some Airtable expert out there watching me do this, screaming, too good? Is he too good?